Today we continue to listen the Karuṇā Bhāvanā. Karuṇā, compassion, is extremely noble and gentle. It is usual for a virtuous man who have pity and sympathy for a person who is in trouble. On the other hand, the person who has no feeling of sympathy towards others in dire distress is not a man of virtue, but of evil. That is why this Karuṇā Dhamma, Sevittabha Bhavitabha, Sevittabha Dhamma Bhavitabha Dhamma. Compassion should be developed and dependent upon by each and everybody who is noble. Ordinarily, even without practicing bhavana, meditation, we should have a feeling of sympathy towards a pitiable person if we see or find. Every time feeling of pity arises, it would amount to developing merits. At the present time, you can find many people who are deserving of pity, such as a person who is in distress for being cruelly ill-treated by the other, or a person who is afflicted with serious disease, or a person who is leading a miserable life for being in financial problems. Financial problems a lot in these days. In fact, such cases are generally found a lot. So it is required to develop Karuṇā, compassion towards such pitiable person. There is only one mode of developing Karuṇā, compassion, unlike developing loving kindness, which involves many kinds. So it is stated as Sabbe satta dukkha mojantu, may all beings escape from misery. This is the way how to develop compassion to all beings. However, if compassion is developed towards a certain person, the name should be uttered and compassion be radiated as, may so and so be free from misery, may he or she be liberated from misery. This misery which should be liberated is one which is occurring in the corporeality of a particular individual right at the moment. And it is to develop continuously and honestly from the bottom of your heart that shall a person be free or liberated from misery or suffering. Whenever we practice meditation, we must practice continuously and precisely. The manner of developing can be adopted in the case of developing compassion towards a person who may be suffering misery caused by illness or by severe weather condition or by maltreatment or by discontentment. Even if no misery is prevailing at the present moment, a person will have the inevitable suffering of his life existence, Vitta Dukkha, in Pali, Vitta Dukkha, inevitable suffering of life existence. Developing of compassion can be resorted to wishing him to be liberated from such suffering or misery. While feeling of compassion is occurring, visualizing the person in distress, be careful. There may appear an enemy from near and afar or remote. Unpleasant feeling of animosity may occur. There is the enemy who is said to be near. If somebody is suffering and if you encounter them, may feel unpleasant vibration, unpleasant feeling of animosity. So that is the enemy. Enemy who is said to be near. And thoughts may arise to fight back a person who has ill-treated. For example, if a dog is found bullying and biting the other dog, one may feel like beating the dog that bullies through pity towards the other dog, which is subjected to attack. Another instance may be cited in this way: if a snake snatch a frog with its teeth, the frog utters a pitiable sound in fright and pain. The man who sees this unpleasant sight and hears the sound has his sympathy for the frog, wishing the poor creature to escape from being beaten and swallowed. This feeling is Karuṇā, compassion. Thereafter, a thought may arise wishing to hit the snake in favor of the pity frog. This is anger. There is anger called vihinsa, which occurs after compassion, wishing to hurt the snake. So that is the remote enemy. So it will be necessary to remove. It will be necessary to get rid of these two enemies, near enemy and remote enemy, and only to develop purely compassion. Next, it is also essential for one who is developing compassion to give assistance to the person in distress, both physically and verbally. To the best of his ability. It is for the sake of the person in distress to get relief. If physical assistance is offered, it amounts to Karuṇā Kaya Kamma, compassionate bodily action. If you get help verbally, it is Karuṇā Vajikama, compassionate verbal action. If both physical and verbal assistance cannot be rendered, compassion will have to be developed merely by way of radiating compassion, Karuṇā. An instance may be cited. No matter how you may have your great pity on cattle, goats, pigs, fowls, and ducks, which are about to be slaughtered at the slaughterhouse or elsewhere, you cannot give your assistance to save the poor creatures. One who has witnessed this plight can only have pity, and nothing else could be done. It is purely Manokamma, Karuṇā Manokamma, compassionate mental action. If feeling of compassion as may he be free from suffering is radiated, it brings merits. If you have your special profession, special paramis, you can even achieve Karuṇā Jhana. While developing compassion. To develop compassion is not as easy as developing loving kindness. It is because loving kindness can be developed with one's innermost feeling of loving kindness and imparted to any other person as may he be happy. As regards compassion, it will be possible to radiate one's feeling of compassion only to a person who deserves pity. It is not easy to develop Karuṇā towards a person who is in a happy mood, and it is not easy to nurture the spirit of compassion in favor of a person in a practical way, effectively. In any case, we shall now develop compassion towards all beings as laid down in the Pali text. Among these beings, there are many who are in distress and really pitiable. Sabbe satta dukkha mojjantu in Pali, that means may all beings be free from misery and suffering. Beings in hell are suffering torments. Betas, hungry ghosts, also condemned to suffering, are in misery. Animals such as buffaloes, cattle, goats, pigs, fowls, birds, and so on are also in the state of suffering. Among human beings, some are subjected to persistent ill treatment by those who have the upper hand. Some are afflicted with various kinds of diseases, while some are undergoing hardship and are in a miserable state. Some are physically and mentally distressed, being at loggerheads with one another among themselves, whereas some are greatly depressed because of dotage, sickness, and death. Some are bereaved and lamenting due to loss of their dear and beloved ones. Some are in trouble for having lost their business deeds or for destruction of their wealth and property. Some are ridden with grief for being separated from their loved ones. Among devas also, celestial beings, some are in misery because of their insatiable desire, unsatisfied desire. On the eve of their death, when ill omens of their next existence come into vision, celestial beings become extremely dejected. So we shall bring such beings to our mind and develop compassion, wishing them escape from various kinds of miserable or unhappy condition which they are undergoing. So I will recite and develop compassion. Just listen, and also uh, you can radiate compassion. The first one is, may all beings be liberated from misery. Then may all those beings who breathe be liberated from misery, Sabipana. May all those beings that are visible be liberated from misery. May all individuals be liberated from misery. May all those beings who have body and mind be liberated from misery. So these are the 5 anodisa Karuṇā, indicating the manner of developing compassion towards all beings without limitation and distinction. Then we have to go on developing the 7 kinds of Odisa Karuṇā. May all females be liberated from misery. May all males be liberated from misery. May all noble ones be liberated from misery. May all worldlings be liberated from misery. May all celestial beings be liberated from misery. May all human beings be liberated from misery. May all abhaya beings be liberated from misery. So these are the manner of developing the 7 kinds of Odisa Karuṇā, specified compassion. If these 7 Odisa Karuṇā is added to 5 Anodisa, it will come to 12. These are the Disa Anodisa Karuṇā, 12 kinds in number without distinguishing or limiting region-wise. If you develop by distinguishing the region, there will be 12, each for every region. As there are 10 regions, it will come to a total of 120. We have to develop by reciting briefly. I will recite. In the eastern region, may all beings in the eastern region be liberated from misery. And to the end, may all abhaya beings in the eastern region be liberated from misery. So these indicate the manner of developing Karuṇā in 12 different kinds covering the eastern region. Similarly, there are 12 kinds, each in the western regions and so on. We will only briefly recite them. So in the western regions, may all beings in the western region be liberated from misery. May all Abhaya beings in the western regions be liberated from misery. And go to northern regions. May all beings in the northern regions be liberated from misery. May all Abhaya beings in the northern regions be liberated from misery. Then go to southern regions. May all beings in the southern regions be liberated from misery. May all Abhaya beings in the southern regions be liberated from misery. Then go to southeastern regions. May all beings in the southeastern region be liberated from misery. May all Abhaya beings in the southeastern region be liberated from misery. Then go to northwestern region. May all beings in the northwestern region be liberated from misery. May all Abhaya beings in the northwestern region be liberated from misery. Then go to northeastern region. May all beings in the northeastern region be liberated from misery. May all Abhaya beings in the northeastern regions be liberated from misery. Then go to southwestern regions. May all beings in the southwestern regions be liberated from misery. May all Abhaya beings in the southwestern region be liberated from misery. So 12 radiation. Then you go to lower region or downward. May all beings in the lower region below be liberated from misery. May all Abhaya beings in the lower region below be liberated from misery. 12 radiation. Then you go to higher region. May all beings in the higher region above be liberated from misery. May all Abhaya beings in the higher region above be liberated from misery. So what has now been radiated are 120 kinds of Disa or Disa Karuṇā. If it is added to 12 kinds of Disa and Nodisa, it will come to a total of 132 kinds of Karuṇā, compassion. The manner of developing compassion has now been fully described. However, it is rather important to radiate a spirit of real compassionate feeling at the time compassion is to be developed. Compassion will only be effective and genuine if there is real pity by visualizing the miserable conditions under which the beings are suffering. In this regard, if one imagines the way Buddha had radiated his compassion with his faculty of great compassion, Karuṇā, it will become obvious how pitiable are those beings. So we will give an illustration with relevant relevant statement from Patisambhida Megapali as to how Karuṇā, great compassion, knowledge has occurred. These are worthy of reverence, and we give you a clear vision of the pitiable state of all beings. Anyhow, only a few statements we have to be explained. So in this statement, it says, what is Buddha's Karuṇā Samapatti? What is Buddha's knowledge that falls within the circle of the endowment of Karuṇā Samapatti? Buddha's knowledge or wisdom, which cannot be achieved by his disciple, comprise 6 kinds. These are: number 1, Indriya Parapriyati Jnana, which knows the maturity, or otherwise that is the depth of the faculty or sense of knowledge of the living beings. And number 2 is Asaya Jnana, which knows the anusaya or inclination relating to the seat of mental disposition of and kilesa that may arise of the living beings. And number 3 is Yamaka Parihariya, which knows the faculty or power to create a double miracle, or rather a miracle in pairs. And number 4, Karuṇā Samapatti Jnana, knowledge or endowment of great compassion induced by calm meditation. And number 5, Sabhinyutta Jnana, attainment of omniscience, all-knowing wisdom. Number 6, Anavarana Jnana, faculty which dispels all hindrances in the way of such knowledge. So these knowledge being out of reach of or unconcerned with the disciple, they are also called Asadharana Jnana, knowledge which is peculiar or unrivaled. And the question raised was, what is Karuṇā Samapatti Jnana from among the said 6 kinds? The answer given in the continuation was as mentioned. So it mentioned that great compassion for beings enters the hearts of the enlightened Buddhas who see various conditions under different circumstances to which beings are subjected. Feeling of great compassion occurs in the minds of omniscient Buddhas. They saw numerous kinds of suffering prevailing among all beings. Most living beings do not perceive other beings' miserable condition. They might see only creatures or living beings who are in great distress and suffering. When fairly happy person see others who are in the same boat, they think of them as being happy as they are. Relating to people who are found to be more happy than they are, they might look upon them as living in a state of extreme happiness without any misery, and consider them as not deserving of pity. This shows the lack of compassionate feeling for not actually knowing the state of misery. The Buddhas, however, clearly perceive the various kinds of circumstances under which beings are suffering. Seeing the sentient being in such miserable condition, great compassion has entered the hearts of the Buddhas. How Karuṇā, compassion, occurs will be stated in this way. Oyuto loka sannivaso. All beings have to be always exerting themselves and constantly worrying. Seeing living beings in such a miserable state, struggling for their own survival, Buddha's hearts go for them with great compassion. What is to be realized is that mankind are constantly striving or worrying for their own livelihood. Ordinarily, worldlings may not think it as being pitiable. They may consider this state or condition as being normal. They generally imagine that as a man, one will have to strive for his own living, and that it is quite natural. Some may argue that there is no need to grumble. However, from the point of view of the Buddha, the Enlightened One, these beings are perceived as struggling and constantly worrying for one's own burden of khandha, aggregates, and are therefore in misery. And they are found to be in great distress. In any kinds of existence, wherever they are born, they have to be worrying without any interval in their lifetime, carrying the heavy load of khandha, aggregates. In the life existence of a human being, as a small child, he has to depend upon the parents and others He cannot stand on his own. From the age of about 4, 5, or 6 years and onwards, he has to attend school for his education. Since about the age of 18 or 20 or so, he has to perform various kinds of work and bear the workload under the given circumstances to satisfy his needs. If fortune fails to smile on him, he will face a lot of trouble to make ends meet with his income. Impairments of his health will bring misery and suffering. Sometimes he may come across pitfalls in the path of his life and meet with dangers, and if so happen, misery will befall him. Throughout the life existence, he is living in anxiety and is struggling continuously. While thus indulging himself entangled in trouble and misery, time comes when he grows old, suffers sickness, and eventually meets his death. Some even die while laboring and working with all their strength. It means the growth, change, and decay of the physical man in the course of his human existence, in which he suffers constant misery. Then you can see in the life existence of animals. In the life existence as animals, from the time of birth, the majority have to find food for their survival. Among animals living in place where food and water are scarce, they have to undergo great hardship in finding food and shelter. Animals in the forest have no protection at all. They have to be worrying for their preservation and for the support of their conduct intact, with constant fear of danger and death. Some of the animals have to search for food only at night, and they are afraid of going out in the daytime. In hell and the world of hungry ghosts, beings are in constant misery and suffering. Of course, they cannot be seen by human naked eyes. Even among devas, there are demons, goblins, or spirits called yakas who are in the state of misery nearly as bad as hungry ghosts. And those beings of lowly existence have a very hard life under worse condition to the point of near starvation. They also are in great misery. And those devas, celestial beings in the higher abodes, up in the heaven, are of course in the state of happiness. However, when their lifespan expires, those whose kusala karma, wholesome karma are lacking in strength become miserable. So as such, all beings are living in misery and are striving with endless worry to keep their existing khandhas, their existing body, in good trim to gain happiness and at the same time to get a new set of khandhas with happiness in the future existences to come. Though people are said to be living under favorable circumstances and are in a state of happiness, they have to be always worrying in order to maintain themselves in good shape at present and also to achieve future benefits in their next existences. They want to enjoy life with happiness in future existences as well. And so in the present lifetime, they are trying to accumulate merits. Of course, to achieve happiness in the future existences, one has to struggle with constant worry and anxiety according to one's own conviction in the religious doctrine which he has accepted as true. Whether it is proper or not, one is trying hard for the welfare of his future, relying on his own faith and conviction. And great was Buddha's compassion for all beings. Having himself seen and found them always suffering, with worry in their persistent effort, hoping to gain happiness in every life existence, while at the same time they are burdened with their khandhas. Buddha realized that there was no other savior except him to lead them to Nibbana, at which stage of khandhas would cease to exist. Realizing in this way, with his deep compassion and goodwill, Buddha had traveled far and wide during his lifetime and had imparted his noble preaching. He tackled all questions put to him by human and devas, on points relating to Dhamma. He had hardly any rest throughout day and night except a brief respite for 3 or 4 hours. So Buddha had to deliver his preaching daily for about 20 hours to devas, humans, and brahmas. This shows evidence to the fact that Buddha's own great compassion had prevented his happiness. Great was his unbounded compassion that the benevolent Buddha had gone to give his Dhamma to Subhadda, a wandering ascetic, while lying on the deathbed a few hours before his parinibbana. To that extent, he has bestowed his unlimited love with self-sacrificing pity on all beings, seeing their miserable plight. So these statements are to make it clear that Buddha had his great compassion on all beings who are struggling with worry in every life existence. This will perhaps enable you to grasp the fact that one can develop his compassion towards pitiable beings who are going through a lot of difficulties and misery throughout their lifespan. This will also place you in a nobler state of mind, which would invoke a feeling of reverence to the most exalted one who had painstakingly preached, proclaiming his message for 45 years with unfailing patience, sympathy, and goodwill for the welfare of all mankind. So with a view to developing compassion in the light of what has been now stated, we have to radiate compassion to all beings. In this way, may all beings who have always been striving with worry to gain happiness be liberated from misery. May all beings who have always been striving with worry to gain happiness be liberated from misery. May all beings who have always been striving with worry to gain happiness be liberated from misery. And we need to know full liberation from this misery will be achieved only when Nibbana is reached, whereby all Namarupa khandas, psychophysical phenomena will cease to occur again. This means to say that may all beings be emancipated after attainment of Nibbana. So we have to stop our discourse for today by practicing Metta Bhāvanā, loving kindness meditation, Karuṇā Bhāvanā, meditation on compassion, and Vipassana meditation by noting rising, falling, sitting, standing, walking, stretching, bending, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and so on, continuously and meticulously. May all yogis, may all practitioners be liberated from suffering. May all yogis realize the real peace in the very near future. Sadhu.